and welcome back to the We Sell Restaurant Show. Let me remind you that We Sell Restaurants operate the largest restaurant brokerage company in the nation, based on the number of listings, transaction, count, and volume. We are franchising nationwide and now have offices in Florida, Colorado, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia. Robin, you remind us who is with us today as our guest.
Well, we have Jonathan Mays, who is the editor of Franchise Times and also writes an award-winning daily blog at restfinance.com. And we also have Bob Wagner, the president of Net Financials, and we have been talking about sales trending in the restaurant industry, what these very learned gentlemen are seeing out there. And we want to continue that discussion. I want to kick it off with you, Jonathan, and ask you, as restaurant brokers, we are helping people to obtain financing to buy restaurants every day. We have actually seen quite an easing in the past, I would say, 12 months, particularly with regard to SBA lending for small acquisitions, I would say Main Street type acquisitions. But what's your take on the state of the finance market on a broader scale?
It still seems to be a bit of there still seems to be a difference depending on who you are. It's generally broadly the financing markets are improving. If you are a large company with a big, well-known brand like Applebee's or Burger King, in most cases, or McDonald's or somebody like that, you have precisely zero problem getting lending, and it is going to be pretty cheap. And that has been driving some fairly sizable acquisitions in the past few years.
So legacy brands, very easy to get lending, what you're saying.
Right, yeah. There are maybe about 10 national brands where it is easy to get lending. And then there are some strong regional brands where certain lenders will loan to. These brands are perceived to have lower risk. And they've been proven. They have predictable cash flow. So, and the borrowers have these are well-heeled borrowers, frequently very experienced operators of private equity groups that have so they have some cash, so they can pretty much pick and choose their lenders. There are a lot of lenders that are loaning money in this space.
Bob, you said your clients are mainly independent restaurants, so what do you see on the lending side? Should be a totally different picture than what Jonathan
You are absolutely right, Eric. It is a very different picture. The number one source of funds for independent operators, whether they be new or maybe with a restaurant or two in the marketplace, is family and friends. Still family and friends. Lenders will step up if you have a successful track record. A new concept is incredibly difficult to finance.
And you think primarily SBA financing if they convince a bank to go with them?
They can, yes, SBA and some traditional.
Some traditional?
Yep.
Okay. But very difficult.
Very difficult.
Have you seen crowdfunding yet start emerging a little bit?
No, I haven't. I'm really looking forward. That has the potential to have a significant impact on how restaurants are financed, particularly smaller. There's a food truck craze. Many cities are now seeing the expansion of food trucks, which are somewhat less expensive to finance than restaurants. And then smaller casual dining concepts, or what's called fast casual concepts, that are less expensive to finance. Crowdfunding could work there. Have not seen it yet.
We had as our guest on the show a couple of weeks back Alex Shushanoff, who is the founder of Foodstart.com, and it's intriguing because he said the exact same thing, that the sort of window where this is working the best for him right now is with a food truck entrepreneur who's getting started. Your thoughts, Jonathan?
I'll admit I'm a little bit somewhat skeptical on crowdfunding as it relates to restaurants until I see it happen on a broad scale. I'm going to reserve judgment, but I have seen there are instances where somebody could where a food truck actually wants to build a brick and mortar location, and they'll use crowdfunding to help pay for that. It does work, and the reason it works is because a food truck builds up a fan base. And and that fan base is the one that wants to crowdfund the restaurant. If you want to just start a restaurant from scratch, you'd better have some way of connecting with customers before you're going to be able to fund a restaurant.
I agree, and I think it is something that is emerging. We hope that it will be getting some strong roots in the industry, because I think it will be a great new way to help. Let me ask you guys that. We have some of our listeners are maybe not in the business, but seriously considering going into business. And we talk about condition, trends, location, funding, everything. Both of you, Bob, you can start first. If you would enter this business right now, what segment, what area, what food would you kind of say, hey, I think if you start a restaurant right now in that segment, you have a fair shot?
Eric, that's a fair question, but remember, you're asking a guy who lasted one day as a busboy. So I'm not the best guy to ask. I do see growth in casual dining. I see less growth in fine dining. Doesn't mean that's a bad concept or category. I just see less growth there. And naturally, we see an awful lot of growth still in what's called the better burger market, and also the quick service, fast casual market segment.
Okay, so Jonathan, we have to know, because it's not in your bio. Did you last longer than a day in the food service industry yourself?
I don't know. I worked at McDonald's for in high school. Does that count?
Okay, we'll take that.
Jonathan, one.
So, any thoughts on Eric's question? Where would you concentrate if you were starting today?
Yeah, if I was starting a restaurant today, I would start with a concept that can locally source food. That's a huge trend. People like that locally, even if it's just a portion of your menu. If you could find a way to get something locally sourced. People like sustainable. They like sustainable practices, and that's a trend. That's a definite trend. Even McDonald's is changing the way it does business a little bit that way. And then I would try and I'd make sure that the food has a certain health element.
Guys, this is all the time we got today. Thank you, Jonathan Mays, Bob Wagner. Thank you for being with us today. And remember, you can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com. Please take a moment and like us on Facebook at Facebook.com/WeSellRestaurants. Follow us on Twitter at SellRestaurants. And of course, we're linked on LinkedIn as well. We Sell Restaurants, your industry authority and source for information. And we are the Restaurant Brokers, Eric and Robin Gagnon.